This is a Flying Cow production.
Book 1, Water. Book 2, Earth. Book 3, Fire. Long ago, Nickelodeon introduced a series called Avatar: The Last Airbender. It combined great anime-style animation, strong storytelling, heart, and humor. It was great, and everyone that saw it loved it. Until one day, a terrible movie came out which everyone hated. But my co-host Loren Collins knows none of this because he's never seen the show. And that's why we are watching every episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender, because I believe this could be Loren's new favorite show. Or at least top 20.
Well, hello, and welcome back to Comets and Cabbages here on the Flying Cow Network. That's right, Comets and Cabbages, our Avatar: The Last Airbender review show. We are here talking about another episode. I, of course, am your host, the Flying Cow himself. I don't know about you guys, but I would be a terrible Earthbender. What do you guys think?
I mean, you got to be really well rooted to be a good Earthbender.
Yeah. Who are you?
Oh, sorry. I'm Amanda. I'm Amanda Van Heil, and I could go for some fresh cabbage.
And
I'm Loren Collins, and I'm getting some Prison Break flashbacks this morning.
Yeah. We got to work on that. You guys are really bad at introducing yourself.
I forget to say I can start.
It's fine. It's fine. I mean, you started talking at least. That's
true.
That's
I thought we had settled on that order before, so I was just waiting on Amanda.
Yeah. No, that order is fine. That order works fine. It's just, Amanda can't remember to say her own name.
I just get excited to talk.
Yeah. I will say, speaking of names, I'm going to go completely off topic here. Because I realized a really random thing the other day.
Okay.
Mainly because, parts of it have been popping up recently. But I realized I do not know the name of the third Jonas brother. I know that there's Nick and Joe.
And Steven.
Steven?
Yeah, Steven.
See, I was thinking more like maybe Wally.
Oh, Wally's their cousin. He shows up
Wilford.
sometimes.
Wilford Jonas. I'm Wilford Jonas. Eat Quaker Oats. Something like that. Could that be?
That could be. That could be.
Is Wally short for Wallace? So it's Wallace Jonas?
Wallace Jonas?
Wallace Jonas.
I'm just, obviously I hear about Nick and Joe. I know they exist, but I've never heard the third Jonas brother's name. So far as I know, he doesn't have one.
He's like the Billy Baldwin of the Jonases.
He's the least popular Jonas. He's the oldest,
apparently. Yeah. Apparently his life is boring and probably happier too.
I'm sure it is happier because at the time, when it came out, when Jonas Brothers were really big, their key audience would have been in the Nick and Joe range.
Yeah, but there is Wilford Jonas just sitting back eating his Quaker Oats and
wait. Age range. How much of an age range is there between the Jonas Brothers? I assumed they were all within a 4-year range.
I was about to say within 1 or 2 years.
They're all within a few years of each other, but when you're 12 and one of them is 16, the 16-year-old seems old and boring.
Old man.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go. I will say, if there are any fans out there that are listening to this and you're like, I know, and you're beating your head against your steering wheel or whatever it is while you're listening and or watching to this, feel free to write in at the Flying Cow Pod on Twitter and or Instagram. You can also email at theflyingcowpod@gmail.com. And if it's really important for us to know, you can let us know who, in fact, the third Jonas brother is. Because honestly, I don't give a crap. And apparently he doesn't either.
Do you have a hashtag for this, like a hashtag Mystery Jonas or something like that?
I like hashtag Mystery Jonas.
Yeah, yeah, that works. Who is this man? All right,
Mystery
but
Dobro.
yeah, who is this guy? All right, well, let's go ahead and let's get into this episode. We are talking today about the next episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender. It is the 6th episode of the show. It is called Imprisoned, and it was directed by Dave Filoni, written by Matthew Hubbard, and it debuted on March 25th, 2005. And basically, this is the second episode in a row where we are decidedly in the Earth Kingdom, meeting Earthbenders, because I mean, I guess technically it's the 3rd episode in a row that we're in the Earth Kingdom, because we had the Kyoshi Island, the Kyoshi warriors, but they were not Earthbenders,
Right.
so far as I know. And we really didn't encounter any Earthbenders. So this is, although it's the 3rd, exactly right. Yeah, I mean, you know, who's to say that, you know, some of those, you know, screaming girls weren't secretly Earthbenders. But so far as we know, this is, although the 3rd episode in the Earth Kingdom, only the 2nd one where we actually encounter Earthbenders. But basically the idea of this episode is that they are in the Earth Kingdom, they encounter Earthbenders, and basically Katara tries to inspire the Earthbenders of this kind of tiny little subjugated town to rise up against their firebender oppressors. This is I will say, a very interesting episode for Katara. Katara's character really kind of comes to the forefront in this one, because I realized while watching this episode, you know, you hear, if you have spent much time like hearing thoughts about the show, the thing that comes up about Katara is that she likes to make speeches. She's very sanctimonious. She's often kind of the serious one.
But she's
to the
very
point,
hopeful.
yes, full of hope.
The serious one, when
Katara.
your other options there in the main cast are like the comic relief brother, the immature kid,
right?
the
I mean, honestly, it's kind of necessary for her to be the serious, because you've got Aang, who is nothing but, you know, who's just, I mean, he's not comic relief, but he's just
I want to play.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
his entire arc is maturing. Yeah,
right. So Katara is kind of on the opposite end, where she almost doesn't know how to have fun. And then you've got Sokka, who's in the middle, who's the funniest one of all 3 of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just, there were some very interesting Katara moments in this episode. But before we get into it, I want to kind of break down, like, what were you guys' just basic thoughts of this episode, like kind of coming in. I will say, first of all, I do want to just address the fact that we completely forgot to ask Loren the important question last time. But Loren, is it safe to say that the last episode did not make this your favorite show?
That's fair to say. Yes.
Okay. All right. But it was one of your favorites, so it did rise a little bit, right?
It did. Yeah.
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
All right. So what are just like your basic thoughts about this episode?
Oh, go ahead,
honestly, I thought this one outdid the last one.
Okay.
This, as of was it episode 6? You said,
yeah.
Out of the 6, my favorite episode of the 6.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I thought it had a lot of strong elements. It kept me engaged the entire time. This was the episode that finally made me think, like, if this is the sort of the vibe this show's going to have going on, and obviously it's not going to be just this. But no, I'm starting to dig this. I don't know if either of y'all have read Usagi Yojimbo. Stan
I'm familiar with Yojimbo. I have not.
I don't even know what that is.
It's a very, very long running comic book by Stan Sakai, which is about just a rabbit Ronin in like medieval Japan.
Ooh.
And it's I mean, there are hundreds of issues at this point. Beautiful artwork. It's almost all black and white. He drew and wrote the series.
Okay.
And largely, except occasionally there are arcs, but by and large, it's Usagi just going from like village to village and having these sort of little single one issue stories of him, encountering some problem in this town and him, addressing it and then moving on. And because, because of the way Sakai simply structures the story, you have recurring characters. He runs into similar people at different times and whatnot. Builds those relationships.
I mean, it's probably a play off of the Yojimbo film series.
Oh, yes, exactly. Yeah. This is just the thing I'm personally familiar with, and also it's honestly, most people have probably encountered Usagi because he showed up in the Ninja Turtles cartoons a couple of times.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
But having to involve time travel because he's not present day.
Sure.
But this episode, and honestly, the next episode when we get to it, had sort of a similar format to that. That's what it reminded me of. Was our main cast goes to another town. There are people there having a problem. In this case, like they're being arrested and imprisoned by the Fire Nation. In the next episode, that they have an angry spirit from the woods that is coming in, and our crew tries to tackle it. In this period setting. And that, at least, obviously there's a bigger arc down the line fighting the Fire Nation, but at least for now, I like that format better than just like, well, we're just going to fly place to place and just kind of see stuff. It's surf penguins and whatnot.
Yeah. All right. Amanda, what are your kind of opening thoughts about this episode?
Well, first off, the more I watch it, the more this episode becomes enjoyable. But the one thing that always stands out to me is just like, man, if I watched this when I was younger, I would have been in love with Haru. Like, he just felt like every single time I see him, like, yep, that is what 15-year-old me would have been all about.
Yeah. What I think is interesting, and we'll get into it, but, for some reason, the fans of this show always want to couple up Katara. I don't know what it is that they just really want to couple up a 14-year-old. But they're always, pairing her with whatever other guy is in the show. And Haru is not like in the forefront of the conversation, but he's one of the ones that they often, mention as a possible coupling. I will say, aside from Haru, I've always kind of felt like this episode was slightly forgettable. I mean, obviously there's the whole prison riot thing, that part I remember, but I will say rewatching this episode and just paying attention to it for the podcast, like I said, some things popped out to me that never really have before. And I don't think I'm ever going to forget this episode again.
All right, but I look forward to this.
let's get into it because, like I said, we start off, first of all, the openings of a lot of these episodes. The opening shot of this one looks like a painting. Like it's just like I believe it's actually I can't even remember what it is right now.
I'm guessing you probably didn't screenshot that to pop up right now.
I did not. I obviously, when I was writing these notes, thought that it was really cool, but I cannot remember right now if it was the sky or if it was because I think this one starts off with them actually on the ground. But obviously I thought it looked pretty. Can't remember what it is now. Maybe I'll insert a shot here. Who knows? But
pause for the screenshot.
Yeah,
that was beautiful play.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I'm surprised I did not remember that.
I don't know. I will say though that one of the other first things that I noticed is that Katara and Sokka are finally out of their parkas. They're finally wearing, clothes that look like that look suited to the climate that they're in.
They finally
you know.
realized, like, wait, it was really hot in this.
Yeah, it's like, is there a reason I need to be constantly sweating? I
Yeah.
don't think so. Hey
I'm-
guys, my shoes are always wet. I think there's a problem with this.
Yeah.
It's okay.
And it's not even
water them to
raining.
sweat out of them.
That means they must have stashed them somewhere. So I suppose Appa has a trunk somewhere. You
No,
just,
they've got
pop
like
the boot
packs and stuff like
Oh,
that.
they do? Okay.
So yeah, they've got packs. They're usually like in tiny little bundles that like at the side of Appa's
These little
huge
saddlebag thing.
Exactly. And I would assume that they're tied because they're constantly in the air.
True. Yeah,
Otherwise
exactly.
they'd
Tied
lose
down
them
to Appa, yeah.
easily.
Maybe they're just very well weighted.
Maybe.
I would kind of love it
but-
if Appa was like the old Tauntaun figure I had as a kid, where his belly just opens up and you just stuff stuff inside him.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, what a scene to recreate for a child.
No, the toy just had like a little slit in the bottom. You just
Yeah,
like
That
because
is
that's what
great.
most people apparently remember about tauntauns.
Tauntauns,
I mean,
yeah.
I once saw a
They're
tauntaun
smellier
sleeping
on the
bag that was supposed to
inside.
look like you were crawling into it.
Yep.
Yeah. But we are introduced to the fact that they're kind of scavenging for food. Sokka has come back with nothing but nuts, half of which apparently are rocks. And he's chiding the other two for being picky about it. And I'm just like, Sokka, a couple of episodes you were ready to eat Momo and you're satisfied with nuts? I don't buy it. Don't buy it at all. But as they are there, they start to hear a noise and go to check it out, and that is when they encounter the earthbending character Haru, which I will say, when you say it like that, sounds like an excited exultation. Haru! Haru!
I'm imagining like the Earthbenders yelling that anytime they attack. That's their
And he's just like,
go-to
what?
battle cry.
What?
Just, Haru!
But yes, we encounter Haru, and he is earthbending, but he is by himself so far as he knows. He is unseen. I will say though, after the last episode, all we know of his name is Haru. So now every time we encounter an earthbending character whose last name we don't hear, I automatically assume it's Pippinpaddleopsicopolis the third.
Well, not the third, but
doesn't have to be the third.
Pippinpaddleopsicopolis. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
No,
I automatically assume it's Pippinpaddleopsicopolis.
That's the popular name.
I
in the
fully endorse that
kingdom.
headcanon. Yes.
Yeah. So Haru P, we'll call him for short. Haru is earthbending, and this is where the first bit in this episode where we see Katara kind of just being, we'll call it at this point, over eager, because she's excited at the idea of an earthbender, but Sokka understandably wants to hold some caution, but Katara is having none of it.
He looks dangerous, so we better approach cautiously.
Hello there. I'm Katara. What's your name?
Okay, couple things about that clip. First of all, mad props to Haru for that exit.
Yep.
That is
was
like
a
the
great
coolest exit I've ever seen. He's just like, nah, I want none of you. Just walks away and then rockfall. Boom. You are not following me. But Katara just completely, it's like she just really wants friends.
There's a friend, and he can move stuff like I can.
Yeah, I mean, yes,
Anybody like that?
obviously a lot of it is down to the fact that Katara is a waterbender, and she's had almost no interaction with other benders until Aang.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, she's definitely starved for that. But like, just the way that she is just kind of like over friendly and like immediately trying to seek out Haru without any sort of sense as to what his boundaries might be or her own safety or anything like that, really kind of lays the groundwork for what we're going to see from Katara in this episode.
I kind of can't blame Haru for running from that because I'd just be like, what the heck?
No! She's just like, hi! I'm Katara. It's like, hi.
I would be like, there's something wrong with this person. There's a crazy person.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
a little bit.
like just a couple minutes later, when someone else sees him, he goes to prison for it. So, you know,
well, I mean, obviously that part of the story is not known yet. But yeah, no, you're
personality
right.
wise, I would just be like, what the heck?
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean, honestly, you know, I totally get, and I think we're meant to think, oh, it's so weird that Haru, this guy just ran off.
Yeah.
But honestly, seeing the way that Katara approaches him, I get it. You know, especially because, like we said, he thought he was alone.
Yeah.
So yeah, if some random girl, I think I'm alone, and some random girl is just like, hi. Yeah.
It's like when you see a kitten and the kitten's just sitting there minding its own business, and you're like, "Hey, kitten, come here!" It's like,
Yeah. You got to ease into these things, Katara. You got to take it slow. It's like
you know, let them smell your hand first.
hi. How are you? You know, not hi. Yeah, that's just gonna scare him away.
I admit too that, you know, while on the whole I like the episode, going back and revisiting this particular introduction, you know, when later on we find out like what the deal is in the town, everyone, all Earthbenders getting arrested, he's hesitant to use it to save like a man's life. Like in the episode has to be convinced like what it's one of his own tribe. The fact that he's just sort of out there in the woods, just sort of, you know, just figuring like, well, I'm out of eyesight of anyone at the moment. Everything's fine.
Right.
You know, it seems like unnecessarily risky on his part.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, I get that, you know, he wants to practice. It's a skill that, you know, because he mentions later on that that's when he feels closest to his dad is when he's earthbending, because, you know, that's something that they had in common. And, you know, as we'll talk about later, his dad is currently in prison. But let's move forward because, you know, they don't follow him, but they do go into the nearby town, and they once again see this kid. And I will say that eventually we find out that apparently he lives in this store or whatever place he goes into is like a storefront or whatever. But on the outside, it does not look like a store. I don't know about you guys, but I looked at this and I was like, oh, he just went home.
Yeah.
And Katara barges in, is like, hey, you're the guy that was earthbending. And I'm just like, oh my God, Katara, you just
Katara, we don't go in people's houses without knocking.
So this is number 2 example of Katara has no chill. Just absolutely no chill. Breaks and enters. Like I said, eventually we do see inside it is a shop, but it does not look like one on the outside. And the door, and he closes the door behind him, which, you know, looks like, you know, it looks like maybe one of those stores that, like, when the doors open, people know they can come in because inside it looks like a shop. But when the door's closed, you leave it alone because maybe they're doing stuff in there. But no,
there wasn't even like a little jingle bell on there to alert that it was a store.
No, it's just like, hey, you're the guy that was earthbending. How are you? Which, of course, you know, Katara doesn't know, but she's totally ratting on him to his mom. Because his mom's like, you were earthbending, you know, and this
sounded like he was smoking and drinking beer.
Exactly. And of course, this is when we find out that earthbending here is illegal because basically anybody that is found to be an earthbender is immediately imprisoned and taken away. And so that is why Haru's mom does not want him to earthbend, because she doesn't want him taken away. Understandable. But they do, Haru and his mom do agree to let Aang and the gang stay in their barn overnight. And of course, during this time, Katara, is talking to him about bending, and obviously this is why she wanted to meet him in the first place, because she wants to kindred spirit. She wants to talk about bending. He's a bender, she's a bender, that kind of thing. But so she's obviously hungry for connection, but still, it's like you got to know how to do it, because you're gonna scare all your friends away.
I feel like she's never met anybody outside of the Water Tribe prior to all this, anyways.
No,
like,
very
"How do I meet
sheltered
new people?"
community. Very sheltered community. Yeah, all the people she knows are her family.
Yep.
One reaction I had to their conversations, their serious conversations about, bending and what his conversation, his like you said, the relationship it provides him with his missing father, all that, made me wonder. As I hear them repeat the verb bending over and over again, and it sounds more silly every time I hear it.
Okay.
What is the do you all know what is there a reason why they chose that word for this show? That manipulation of the elements is called bending. Is that like was that something they just randomly chose? Is it something that's like a transliteration of something from Japanese? What is it?
To
That is a
be
good
honest,
question.
I don't know. I do think that, obviously it is an expression of the fact that they are manipulating the elements. And I think it was just an easier way to say that.
I figured it might be as simple as that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they wanted to differentiate it. They wanted to make it clear it wasn't magic, because
Right.
you were just moving the element around, and like the molecular structure is what you're messing with, rather than.
I mean, I would assume that they probably played around with a couple of different ideas, but all of the things that we've said to convey the same idea, manipulation, moving sounds so pedestrian.
I'm a water mover.
Exactly. And manipulation might be a little too much, and also might be taken the wrong way.
Yeah.
So bending, I mean, I kind of get why maybe they went with that, but I mean, I get where you're coming from. To be honest, though, until you brought it up, I never really thought much about it.
Yeah,
Well, the first time I heard about airbending, I was like, so what? He just does this and look, bending the air.
Yeah.
That was me the first time I heard about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I hear them having like Haru having, serious, sincere thoughts up there about like how he bends because it makes him closer to, like, it reminds him of like his father as a bender. It's like, nope, all of this sounds absolutely silly to my ears. I assume over 4 episodes, I will just get acculturated to it and it will start to sound normal. I will just be brainwashed into assuming that's a normal thing to say. And but thus far, nope, it all sounds weird. And I can't that's where I am at this point.
And that's fine. That's fine. But yeah, so during this conversation, they hear an old man call for help. And Katara basically peer pressures him, Haru, into helping this guy, because basically it's an old man who is at the end of a collapsed tunnel. And they try a bunch of different ways to try to get him out. And Katara basically, like I said, peer pressures Haru into.
Come on, Haru, don't you want to be cool?
Yeah, everybody's doing it, Haru. Actually, nobody's doing it because it's illegal, Katara.
Who cares about the law? You want to be cool, right?
Again, Katara just, I mean, she wants so much. She wants so much, and it's just, yeah, not always the best idea. But yes, she does convince him to help the guy out. He does release the guy, and he runs away. Come to find out, that was a bad call, because the next morning they discover that guy ratted him out. And honestly, when I rewatched that scene, I'm like, did that guy stage that?
That's what I wondered.
Because it looks like he might have been like set up the thing to collapse so that somebody might potentially an Earthbender might potentially come to rescue him.
I'm convinced he's really a Fire Nation spy living in the
Oh,
Earth
I mean,
Kingdom.
he
Obviously
absolutely is. You know, well, I think he probably is a collaborator.
Yeah.
Not, you know, like he probably is an Earth Kingdom citizen, but is collaborating with the Earth or with the Fire Nation.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I wish there had been some beat, to be honest, that showed him getting paid off or what made him choose to do it. Because like it sort of skips over that. Like there's this old guy whose life is saved, and literally the next time we see him is he's just, you know, for some reason in between has just randomly decided to rat out the dude who saved his life. Like,
yeah, it would have been nice to see them like pass him a bag of gold or something like that. Yeah,
which doesn't need any time if you do it like in the scene when the arrest happens. It's
because
just like
it's literally just visual.
It's
literally all visual. Yeah,
someone's handing him a bag.
Or even to show him like as they're walking by him, like counting his little coins, just
something. Yeah, I will say though, I think it's understood enough. I've always assumed that he was paid off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I mean, while I would have liked to see a verification of that, I do think that the implication is there.
My other thought was that he had like a family member that they were threatening, and like he had to either turn in the Earth Kingdom bender or his son dies or something.
Possibly.
Yeah, I mean, it stands to reason that the Fire Nation's keeping this kind of control in the town. They probably have a bounty out for it. Yeah. But similarly, the show could have just established at some point there was a bounty. Like, you know, we will pay anyone to disclose that. But
But yeah, so Haru, for his good deed, gets taken away to prison. You know, obviously everybody is upset, but Katara most of all. And, you know, and I mean, I will say I get it, because had she not convinced Haru to do some earthbending, he wouldn't be in this mess. But at the same time, in the situation that they were, where it actually looked like this guy was in danger, I get, you know, the impulse. And honestly, had Haru been there alone, he probably eventually would have done the same thing. But Katara refuses to take this as a loss. They are going to rescue Haru because Katara is going to get herself imprisoned for earthbending. Again, Katara with just some interesting ideas here.
Let's just hope Aang does what he's supposed to.
Right.
This is why I said it was giving me Prison Break flashbacks. This was Michael Schofield's plan in Prison Break. Literally.
Earthbending? Wow.
I mean, that was a first draft. Eventually, he just robbed a bank. But yeah. But no.
Oh yeah, I'm sure the producers of, I mean, actually I don't know when Prison Break came out, but I was just about to say I'm sure they were taking notes during this episode.
Honestly, it was about that time.
Oh really?
It's funny if Prison Break got
this was 2005
by Avatar.
That would be great. Came out in 2006.
It premiered. Why are we saying that? August of 2005. No, they would have been developing this episode before.
I mean, this came out before that show. So it's odd to see the things that were done around the same time.
Yeah,
with the exact same ideas.
Yes.
It's like this person has been pitching the story to multiple people.
Yeah, it very well could be. Very well.
It's a pretty general premise of I'm going to get locked up to break someone else out.
Yeah.
But I will say, you know, like I said, Katara says that she's going to get herself imprisoned in order to help Haru out, and they actually come up with a pretty decent idea. You know, they decide to use vents around the place to kind of simulate earthbending. And then we get a scene that is just absolutely hilarious to me of them staging a fight in front of Fire Nation soldiers to to set up getting Katara caught. And it's so over the top, and that kind of fake bad acting.
Yeah.
It's like,
You
hey,
weird cretin.
Yeah, I love, and I will say, yeah, apparently Katara hits on a raw nerve with Sokka.
How dare you call me Pipsqueak, you giant-eared cretin?
What did you call me?
A giant-eared cretin. Look at those things. Do herds of animals use them for shade?
You better back off. Seriously, back off.
Yeah. Obviously in their improv, Sokka is like, okay, I did not say yes to the ears. The ears are out of bounds.
Yeah, out of bounds.
Yeah. Although Katara keeps hitting that note, but yeah,
She's like,
I
don't
love.
care.
Yeah, I love that whole sequence. Honestly, I would play the whole thing if I wasn't afraid of getting another copyright claim. But because it's so much.
I
Sorry,
did love
go
that
ahead.
scene because I do always kind of love it when you have bits like that where people who are good planners in other respects. In this case,
Yeah.
part of what they're playing hinges on is they simply need to like act natural and normal. And like, nope, they can't. They're bad actors.
Yeah.
I also hope this recurring theme.
Yeah. Speaking of, I completely forgot to mention. There's a bit when they first meet Haru where the Fire Nation soldiers come in, and they're all like, "Freeze! Act natural!" And this is the shot of them acting natural. Again,
Like Haru's
Katara.
Also,
Why Katara decided to shove 15 berries into her mouth to act natural?
That's probably the best thing she could have done, because that way she'll keep her mouth shut.
Yes. Also, like you said,
But
the
again,
instruction is
Katara just can't do anything halfway. She's just overboard and anything that she does.
the impulsive order is to act natural and freeze. So they come in and everyone is like just posed.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
But I will say in that fight, we also get, in my opinion, the perfect battle cry for any Earthbender.
I'll show you who's boss. Earthbending style.
I'll show you who's boss. Earthbending style. And I love that last little bit. I mean, like I said, it's a perfect like anime.
Yes,
true
anime movement.
But earthbending style. Yes, that should be the cry of all earthbenders.
Yeah.
Pippinpaddleopsicopolis, unite. Excuse me. But yeah, so they do eventually Aang hears his cue and airbends the rock to make it look like Katara is earthbending. Although my
No, it's Momo.
Yes, my favorite bit of that moment is that the Fire Nation soldier originally thinks that lemur is earthbending, and they're like, no, it's the girl, and it's just like, oh, okay. I will say though, it does properly look like Momo is earthbending.
It really does. I mean, he's just
got
sitting there, just like
his hands up. He's just like, hey, what?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Really, all you had with the Fire Nation being not the brightest, I mean, they easily could have just gone, "Hey, I saw her earthbend."
Yeah.
They would have arrested.
Yeah, I mean that's really all they needed to do, but no, they wanted to prove it. So anyway, she gets taken off, and basically they tell her she's got, I think, 12 hours is what they say, to basically locate Haru, and they say nothing about helping him break out his dad or anything else either. I think they're just after Haru at this moment.
Yeah, everybody else can stay there.
Yeah, but they get they get she gets taken to the earthbending prison, which is a ship, a metal ship, in the middle of the ocean, with no earth around. So for your typical earthbender, I will say, for a lot of the series, you will see anytime they want to deprive an earthbender of earth, they will often surround them with metal, or some
wood.
some type of substance like that kind of keeps them away from earth. Obviously, Katara in the middle of the ocean as a waterbender, if she was more powerful, this wouldn't be a problem for her at all.
Although
But
theoretically, the earthbenders could all eventually underwater, there's going to be some earth crust there.
but they have to feel it.
They'd have to know where it was.
Yeah, exactly.
I was kind of intrigued to learn that apparently metal did not count as earth, considering a lot of the earth is made of minerals.
Yeah,
that gets touched on later on.
I was about to say we'll
talk about that later.
We'll come back to that eventually, but yeah, right now, so excuse me. So yeah, they're on this ship in the middle of the ocean, and Katara, aside from seeking after Haru, is also kind of excited to encounter these earthbenders, but is extremely disheartened by the fact that they've all just kind of given up, because she immediately is just like, so what's your escape plan? Come on, what's the prison break scheme? And they're just like, we just kind of want to stay alive, which honestly I get.
Mm-hmm.
But again, crank it to 11 Katara is not having that. And she immediately tries to give this hopeful speech. I will say we kind of skipped over the fact that before she even encounters the rest of the prisoners, they are brought on and given a speech by the warden, played by George Takei. Yes, George Takei. Yeah,
I was kind of disappointed nowhere he said "oh my," and I was really kind of hoping for that.
This was 05.
The earthbenders are revolting. Oh my. Yeah. But yeah, the she does, try to give a hopeful speech, and they're just like nothing. And she does it immediately, like the warden is just right there. But he knows that he has beaten down these people enough that they're not even going to try to fight back. I mean, obviously at this point in time, they don't have any means to fight back. But they're just so all hope is gone for them. And so Katara is really discouraged by this, because she obviously wants to help Haru, but when she sees the rest of the prison there, decides that it is her mission to break all of them out. And, she can't do it if they're not willing to help. So the 12 hours expires. Sokka and Aang come to pick her up. And she's just like, I am not leaving without these earthbenders. It's just like, okay, Katara, not your job. Appreciate the idea, but you're nobody christened you the earthbending savior. But Katara did herself. So she is not going to leave without helping these earthbenders out. So they stay and actually decide to come up with a plan to not only motivate the earthbending prisoners, but to actually give them weapons with which to fight back. And they excuse me, they discover that obviously, even though the ship itself is built out of metal. It runs on Earth, coal. So they basically decide to do the same thing that they did with the vents, with the earthbending thing, and shoot the coal up through the vents so that it will land on the deck. They do this after a little bit of excuse me. They are able to do this, but initially the Earthbenders still seem like they're not going to do anything about it. There's really very little reaction. And it takes some time before any of them fight back. In fact, Haru is the first, I think Katara starts to fight first, and then Haru backs her up. And then when they come after Haru, then his dad and then everyone else join in to kind of help out.
His dad, by the way, since we haven't mentioned his name, Tyro Pippinpaddleopsicopolis.
Yes. I thought you were going to mention his real name. I did look him up because he is
Kevin Michael Richardson.
Yes, Kevin Michael Richardson. Yeah, who's done a lot of voice acting. Yeah.
Yes. No, I recognized him when he spoke, and then I was racking my brain and had to look him up. But
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I was like, I know that voice. Yeah, I also had to look him up. I was just like, okay, I know that voice. Who is that voice? But yeah.
Right about this same time, I guess he was voicing the Joker over on the Batman.
Oh, okay. I didn't know he voiced the Joker.
He did the Rino Romano animated series that followed Batman the animated series. That was called The Batman.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard of the Batman.
Yeah,
I just haven't watched much of it. Obviously,
he was. I didn't love it honestly, but no, he was the Joker in that, trying his best to do a version of the Joker immediately in the wake of Mark Hamill's Joker. So,
okay.
Kind of pulling from that influence. He would vary a lot between like really high voice, and like Kevin Michael Richardson has a deep voice, really deep voice,
he does.
Which is interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, so like I said, they do eventually rise up, but like I said before that, like Katara just will not give up. I wrote down Katara will start a riot if it kills her. Like, she's just not gonna give up. She's just like, I want a riot, make it happen. Just has absolutely no chill. And
it's like, honestly, how big can we go?
Yes, we will go all the way. And honestly, as I was thinking about Katara in this episode, I was reminded, have either of you guys seen the show Community?
Oh, yes.
I have not.
Okay.
Love it.
So in that show, there is a character whose name is Britta. Okay. And Britta
Britta's the worst. I just want to say that. Britta's
the worst. Yeah. But that show, if you go from season 1 to season 2, like season 1 feels like more like a regular sitcom, just like with like some zany elements. After the first season, they abandoned anything that was normal and just embraced the zany. And so, like, when Britta's character is originally introduced, she's just kind of like the moral compass of the group. And she's basically the one kind of non-silly character. She's the one, kind of straight character in the group. And as they transition into season 2, she remains kind of with that tone, but we pull back and realize that even though she's always giving these heartfelt speeches and, she believes in all these causes, she's actually really bad at almost everything that she does.
Yeah.
And as Loren referred to, her name kind of becomes synonymous with doing something really bad. So, basically instead of, saying, well, I really fucked that up, well, I really Britted that. And
Yeah.
I just got to say, Katara is Kataraing all over the place in this episode.
One particular
Because-
place she does that, I realized in my notes here, is that when they're saving the old man from the cave-in, Katara's
Yeah.
trying to tell him, it's like, we need to help save the old man, and Haru comes around to it. Twice in those couple of moments around the old man, she just makes the point of stating his name out loud in front of the old man. It's like,
Yes.
Haru, there's no one else around, but Haru,
No.
can you save the old man? Like, Haru, this is important. So just in case the old man did not
Just
recognize,
in case you didn't know, this guy who's using earthbending to save you, it's
Yeah.
Haru.
His name is Haru.
Haru.
yeah, just in case the old
Haru.
man, yeah.
Like I said, she is Katara this
Yeah.
all up.
When he goes back to collect his bounty, and they ask him, it's just like, well, who was the guy you saw? It's like, well, he was this young guy, I guess, teenager. He was dressed. Well, I guess he was dressed like everybody here dresses, like it's kind of green and browns and whatnot. Oh, also, his name is Haru, because I heard that twice. Yeah.
Yeah, because that one girl
The
shouted
one girl
it
who doesn't
several
look
times.
like the rest of us.
No. Oh, but yeah, Katara is just really, kicking things off here. But yeah, they do eventually, like I said, they overpower everything, and they take over the ship. They dump the warden and the rest of the men into the sea, and they're free. They go back to their people, and basically, it's I don't know that it's like outwardly said, but it's kind of hinted at the fact that they're gonna kind of start a Fire Nation resistance, with these people. So, even though Katara was definitely overstepping her bounds, apparently she did the right thing. But yeah. And then I will say the very last shot is because once again, 2 episodes in a row, we do not have a storyline with Zuko and Iroh, but we get a cameo at the very end of Zuko apparently examining the scene where all of this happened and finds Katara's necklace.
I tried to back up after that happened, and the credits were running.
Yeah.
Is there actually a beat in that conflict where she loses the necklace? Where is that actually shown on screen? Because I thought that's a neat bit if they show that, and it's just happens in the background or no attention is drawn to it.
If it does, I did not notice it.
Okay.
Amanda, did you notice
I've
anything?
tried to look for when it happens, and
Sure.
I have not been able to find it.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if it like actually shows it or if it's just.
I will look
Yeah.
again and report back next episode.
You know what? I'm sure somebody ripped it off off of her neck. You know who it was? Wilbur Jonas.
That's who it was.
Mm-hmm. Good old
Yep.
Wilbur. Yep.
Why people can't remember his name because he's actually an Earthbender.
Yeah. That's where he's been this whole time. He's been on that Earth Nation or Earth Kingdom ship. That's why nobody's heard from him. He's been imprisoned for earthbending. But yeah. All right. So
By the way, did you know Jonas is a stage name?
oh no, I didn't.
Yeah, their real last name is Pippinpaddleopsicopolis.
Ah,
Dang it, Loren.
makes all the sense in the world.
Yep.
Like we said, he's an earthbender. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
I mean, when they were the independent circuit, just Pippinpaddleopsicopolis brothers just did not fit on the marquee.
No, it's a long name.
It is
It's a long name. Yeah, it's tough. All right. I will say I didn't mention as much about the warden as I wanted to, because this warden, I wish that they'd given him even more than they do, because like he sets himself up as like, that typical like, I'll treat you nice if you treat me nice kind of thing. And then like somebody coughs and he overreacts and throws them overboard. I will say he likes to throw people overboard a lot, to the point where somebody tells him that people have escaped and he throws the guy overboard. And then he's like, wake up the captain. They're like, that was the captain. He's like, well, wake up somebody I haven't thrown overboard. But yeah, it's
Don't tell me if he returns. I hope he does. I'm afraid he doesn't, considering they did not give him a name. He is
Right.
just Warden.
yeah.
He might have a name.
I've taken to calling him Warden Takei.
Warden Takei.
Okay, that works.
Warden George. Warden
Yeah.
George.
yeah, it's just a off hours job.
Yeah, it made me concerned for Katara at first when she starts giving her big impassioned like rally the troops speech, where it's like,
Yeah.
this guy seems kind of murderous and kind of quick on the trigger. Then no, he's just happy to watch her embarrass herself. Like that's I could buy that characterization. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything else about this episode that we want to bring up before we move into segments?
I don't think so.
No, not really. Let's go.
All right, then let us go ahead and get right into our very first segment, which is our My Cabbages moment. This is of course, our favorite and or most interesting moment of the episode. Excuse me. And Loren, I think we are going to start off with you, sir. What was your My Cabbages moment for this episode?
I think that might have to be in a line that was alluded to earlier when they're faking, the incident to get arrested, and the One Fire Nation guy yells, "That lemur, he's earthbending." It's a very Simpsons-esque line. I love it.
Yeah. No, that is great. All right, Amanda.
Well, I too have the same My Cabbages moment when Momo's just standing there like this.
Yep. The visual for that is fantastic.
Yeah. I will say then this is kind of a three-way tie because I actually made my Cabbages moment that entire fake earthbending scene.
Yep.
That whole the bad acting earthbending style. You giant-eared cretin. I love that whole sequence, and then cap it off with that lemur is earthbending. No, it's the girl, you idiot. Oh, yeah. I think that whole sequence is hilarious. So, yeah. All right. Well, then let us go ahead and let us give out our Mako Award. This, of course, goes to the character that was either our favorite or we found the most interesting in this episode. So, Amanda, I'm going to start off with you for this one.
I'm gonna probably guess mine's gonna be the same as everybody else, but Warden Takei. Just hearing that voice for the first time in the show and like not knowing that it was gonna be George Takei, and then hearing, I know that voice.
Yeah. All right. Loren.
Yes. This may be again setting us up for another three-way tie here.
Sure.
But my Mako Award also goes to Warden George Pippinpaddleopsicopolis.
Okay. All right.
And I admit, like for a moment, I assumed it was George Takei when I heard his voice. Again, I had to turn to IMDb to make sure it's like
I did the same thing. I was like
doing a Takei impersonation, right? Like this, like they got real Takei. Yeah.
There oddly aren't a lot of people that do George Takei impressions, and I'm like, he's just got such a unique voice. Why do more people not? I mean, I do my best. But why are there not more people that do George Takei impressions? I mean, at the most, people will do the "oh my," and that's it.
I wonder if it just feels disrespectful.
Maybe. I mean, but
such a great storyteller that just to hear him talk is just like, I just want to listen to you talk right now.
George, I feel like George Takei though would be a good sport about it. Like I honestly think that he would have a sense of humor about it. So I really don't think it would be anything.
I don't think it's him. I think it's the people that would do it would be like, oh, sure, but it's George Takei.
Yeah.
As long as he's still around to like voice stuff himself.
Sure.
Like, market for George Takei impersonators. Yeah.
Right. I mean, the last thing I would want is for people to get roles that he would have gotten because they're doing a George Takei impression.
Yes.
I wouldn't want that. But
that could legitimately be a problem because like there's precedent actually on that.
Right. Well, and I mean the AI stuff is
well,
that too, yeah.
But
I forget which particular person it involved years ago, but where someone had run a series of commercials and they'd hired an impersonator to do the commercials,
Yeah.
And the actual actor sued because like that you're trying to use, the credibility of my voice. Like you're not saying it's me. You just hired someone who clearly is trying to sound like me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, right now they're doing that a bit with Gilbert Godfrey and Norm Macdonald, but both of them have
But they're
passed.
dead, so
Exactly. And they're literally just taking over characters that they did before they passed.
Well, and those are tied into actual characters,
right? And they're also commercials.
Actually,
so, yeah.
Allow me a brief interjection before you say this. One of the cases about this, at least there was a lawsuit about this, was Louis Prima. His widow sued Disney, or at least threatened to sue Disney over the use of an impersonator. I think, in fact, it was the impersonator might have actually been Jim Cummings.
From Tailspin.
Not for Tailspin.
No.
Jungle Book 2?
I think for Jungle Cubs or something like that. Or Jungle Book 2.
I know there was a sequel, but I can't remember who played.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because they were saying it was Louis and and she was taking the position that not only is it Louis Prima's distinctive voice, but they're still obviously the character is also named Louis,
right?
And he wasn't, her estate wasn't getting compensated for this. He wasn't still around, and so because again, as long as there are royalties being paid, that's fine. Yeah. But and subsequently,
I mean, honestly though, that character was not named after him. That character was originally meant for Louis Armstrong.
Yeah.
And, obviously he turned it down for good reasons. But
the outcome of that case, I remember correct. I don't know what the behind the scenes settlement arrangement, but if I remember correctly, the character in Jungle Cubs stopped being called Louis.
Yeah.
Like the character got renamed in like subsequent episodes.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Not publicity and all that.
I will say I still haven't named my Mako Award.
I wonder who it should be.
It's okay. I will say I almost made this a three-way tie again. But as we were talking, I realized I got to go with most interesting here. I got to go with Katara. Because I think that this is the most interesting Katara has been in the entire show. Yeah. Because she's totally just has no chill. And she's going like the furthest. Like I said, she's really Katara'd up this whole situation.
Like the spirit of Katara has been awakened in this episode.
It really has. And somehow it all worked out for the best. Don't know how, but it did. But yeah, so I had to give this one to Katara. All right. Well, let's go ahead now and let us rate the episode on the Avatar State meter. This is, of course, our meter from 1 to 5, 5 being the best. It would be the show at full power, 1 being the worst. That would possibly give the show a fatal blow. So from there, where are we going to rate this episode? Let's see. Loren, I think I'm going to start with you.
Like I said, I liked the episode, had a couple of quibbles here and there, but by and large, solid episode. I liked it. It starts to make me intrigued for the first time, really, about where the show's going from here, not just little anecdote things.
Sure.
So no, I'm going to give it a 4. Good, solid 4.
Wow. Okay. All right, Amanda.
I am also giving it a 4. There are just so many great moments in it, and every single time I watch it, I find another one. So this one's one that just doesn't really get old to me.
Wow. Then I feel like the outlier. I mean, I did really like this episode, but I don't feel like it's the strongest of episodes. Like I like the fact that we are introduced to the character of Haru. We get some fun stuff from George Takei's Warden. Like I said, I would have liked a little bit more of that. But we're also getting, Katara at her most ridiculous. I will say she kind of fulfills this role a lot, but I think this is kind of the sillier side of that. So, I mean, I think for like the first few, I was almost always like towards the top or either tied with Amanda or like right around the same, but I'm actually below both of you. I gave this a 3.5.
Yeah.
Still a solid
good
rating,
one.
I think. Yeah.
Above average.
Just I think the show still has room to grow. So yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, that is that. So now we are down to the big question, the big important question, the reason we are all here. Loren, is this your new favorite show?
I mean, we did spend a while talking about one of my favorite shows, but that was still Community.
Yes.
I'm afraid. Yeah. No, again, this is a step in the right direction. I'm starting to see what people like about this show, at least, as opposed to
Okay.
just being like, this is just kind of a moderately okay Nickelodeon cartoon.
Sure.
I was told a year or more ago, it's like you get several episodes in, get some more of the world building behind you.
Yeah.
And when it hits a certain tone, and I'm feel like I'm beginning to get that feel. So
Sure.
I'm really starting to look forward to actively looking forward to watch more episodes at this point.
All right. Well, that is that's encouraging. That's good. All right. Well, then, if that is it, I think it is time to go ahead and let people know how they can get into contact with us. So, of course, you can contact us at the Flying Cow Pod on Twitter and Instagram. You can also email at the Flying Cow Pod at gmail.com. Let us know, what, Dwight Jonas's real name is. Let us all of the insides and outsides of that. Don't forget to check out everything that we've got going on here on the channel and on the Patreon, patreon.com/the flying cow. I will say I've recently updated the tiers over there. We've only got 3 tiers now. The lowest tier is at $1. If you are somebody that misses listening to us on audio, if you contribute $1 every month, you can listen to everything we've got over coming out on the audio, on the podcast feed there. And you can also, if you contribute at the $10 level, you can get everything a week early. So you can, hold over people you don't know's heads that things they don't know. Yeah.
They might, you can tell them the real name of
Yeah.
their Jonas brother.
Which is Stephen. As we established earlier, it is
Stephen Pippinpaddleopsicopolis.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, the 14th. All right. Amanda, anything you want people to know out there?
You can find me on the Bird app thing as Amanda Van Heil, and you can find me on Twitch playing video games. It is Panda Princessa, and then you can also find me on the Zelda Universe TV YouTube channel.
All right. Loren?
You can find me on Twitter at Stephen Pippinpaddleopsicopolis, or at Loren Collins, my alt. And just that's about it, really. I don't really post on Instagram or TikTok much, but I'm there if you want to search me out.
All right. Well, again, I want to thank everyone for checking us out, watching and listening to us, whatever you might be doing. We'll be back next time talking about the episode Winter Solstice Part 1, The Spirit World. But until that time, moo.
Mm.